When I first saw the trailer for this movie, I thought it was going to be kind of like Edward Scissorhands. But I don't know because I haven't seen Edward Scissorhands in a long time. And I probably watched it when I was a little bit too young to watch stuff like that. He kind of freaked me out for a long time, even though he's not even supposed to be freaky. He was a nice guy that was very misunderstood. It was actually a really sad movie, wasn't it? Now that I think about it. Lisa Frankenstein. I decided to kind of check it out. I'm glad it wasn't a musical. There's a lot of music in this, but it's not a musical. So I'm like, that's a good thing. I'm not a fan of musicals. I felt weirdly uncomfortable most of the time while watching this movie, and I don't even know why. I don't think you're supposed to feel uncomfortable, but I was in a lot of discomfort. It was just very disturbing for a reason I cannot really pinpoint. This movie is not supposed to be a serious movie. You're not supposed to take it very seriously. And the characters are all kind of like archetypes of certain characters that you would see, like evil stepmom, weird high school kids, a dad that doesn't do anything, and then you have this zombie dude. This movie is mainly about a girl named Lisa Swallows. She's played by Ant-Man's daughter. I don't know her name, sorry. She is kind of an outcast, but she wasn't always an outcast. She just became weird because her mom was murdered by an axe murderer. Anyone would be traumatized after that. Her dad eventually moved on very quick and married this other lady who also has a daughter, and her daughter actually goes to the same school, so they're like the same age. And she's kind of an outcast because she's, you know, a little bit weird, and when you're weird in high school, people don't like to do stuff with you. I mean, they treat you differently, okay? They treat you differently. This movie starts out where she's like kind of going to a party. The party made me very uncomfortable because I've never been to a party. I've only seen parties in movies and shows, and they're all portrayed in this way. There's this guy she's kind of into at the party, Michael Trent. He's like chief and editor of the school newspaper. She's a bit awkward at this party. She drinks some alcohol, which she cannot handle very well. And then they also, I think another girl like spiked her drink. So she's in this really bad state. Weird things happen at parties, okay? This guy who's like her lab partner, Doug, he seems kind of normal, and he tries to like help her find some place to lay down. I don't know. And then eventually weird shit happens and he does something he shouldn't do, and she kind of freaks out and she runs out of the party. When she goes home, she passes the cemetery. Okay, I forgot to mention, ever since her mom was killed by that axe murderer, she's found a liking towards this abandoned cemetery that I guess is near her house. And then she really likes this one grave that has a statue of a guy who seemingly died when he was pretty young. And then she kind of just spends time there and talks to him. And it's really weird. Okay, we're not supposed to question anything in this movie, okay? Once you start questioning stuff, it all falls apart. So let's not question why she's obsessed with the cemetery and this grave. And then so after this party, when she's like all freaked out because Doug tried to like make a move on her and she wasn't expecting that, she runs out of the party, she goes home, she smashes the mirror, and the next morning the stepmother, your average evil stepmother, but I despised her so much. I don't even know. There was something about this stepmother that I was just like, she's so awful. She's like the passive aggressive Karen type. Her dad just sits back and doesn't really do anything, so I can see why she hates her life. But yeah, the stepmother's like, oh my god, you're crazy, you're into vandalism, you need to go to a psych ward. The next day, I don't even know if it's the next day. I don't know the flow of time in this, but there's one day she's like at home alone. And then the dead guy, he wakes up as a zombie. He like finds her house, you know, he apparently knows where she lives. I don't even know how. But anyways, he like kind of breaks the glass and goes in. She's kind of running away from him because she thinks he's another axe murderer because she's been through this. But then eventually when she finds out he's just a lost zombie that she's been tending the grave of, she kind of is she is weirdly calm, which I also felt very uncomfortable with that. I was very uncomfortable when he was chasing her around the house because he was all covered in dirt and gross stuff. And I'm like, the house is gonna get so dirty. They kind of start getting along, but he's like missing a bunch of body parts, so he can't really function like a real human because obviously he's a dead guy, he's a zombie. And then he ends up killing the stepmom. Okay, he kills the stepmom. She died so easily, but I'm just like, yes, that was a very satisfying death. So many things that happened in this movie, if you really think about it, it's very twisted that I feel very satisfied that these things happened, but that's how I felt the whole movie. I was very uncomfortable, and then there was always these satisfying scenes where I'm just like, okay, yes, this happened. And so yeah, the stepmom, he knocks her out. They take her ear because he's missing an ear. So they cut off her ear and then they she sews it onto the zombie dude. And this happens with a couple of other characters. This happens with Doug too. Oh, I hate Doug. They end up getting rid of Doug as well and then cutting off his hand and then replacing the zombie guy's hand with Doug's hand. And they use this tanning bed that's in this shed in their backyard that electrocutes you because it's probably malfunctioning in some way. The electricity somehow reanimates the dead body part. Every time he gets a new body part and he goes into the tanning bed to get shocked, he comes out 20% more like a live human. So eventually over time throughout this movie, he looks more and more like a human. People start realizing that, you know, these people are missing. Lisa now, she's realizing she's running out of time. She's like, oh my God, they're gonna catch me and I'm gonna get the death penalty or something. So she's like, well, before I die, I gotta make sure I don't die a virgin. This is some Twilight shit, man. In the end, she doesn't want to die a virgin. So she's like, okay, I'm gonna go sleep with Michael Trent because I like him and he kind of acts like he likes me, you know. I don't know. In the beginning, I thought Michael Trent really did have a thing for her. He was like, I don't know. He was weirdly conventionally attractive for a editor-in-chief of a school newspaper. I thought he had a thing for her. She like goes to his house because he didn't go to school that day. She finds her sister in bed with him and that was like really weird. Okay, this is another moment where I'm like, this is very uncomfortable. There are so many uncomfortable moments. The whole time I'm just like, what is happening in this movie? I don't know what's going on. I feel weirdly tense and uncomfortable. It's that feeling of like a rage building up within you. I guess that makes sense because this whole movie is like marketed as a coming of rage love story or something. And I'm just like, is that the point? Because from the beginning, I kept feeling this anger build up. And then there were moments where it was like kind of released. And those were the moments where they kind of like got rid of characters. And I'm like, yes, this is exactly how I wish my life was too. Not in the literal sense, but you know how like if something's bothering you, if there's a problem and you can just cut it out, yeah, that's what it feels like. And so she finds Michael Trent with her stepsister in bed and then she's like so furious. She like bursts in through the door and she's like, oh my God, it's just like you to do this. And then Michael's like, yeah, you know, I never really liked you. I don't know if you got the wrong message. And I'm like, what the heck? You acted like you were into her, kind of. I don't know. Maybe I'm also not good at reading things. I don't know, but it seemed like he was kind of flirty. She's like giving all this speech and then zombie dude barges in too. And he's obviously mad too because at this point he's sort of developed feelings for Lisa. He was totally against her like sleeping with Michael Trent. Here's his moment to come and shine. And this was like my favorite part of the movie. I'm sorry. I don't know what this says about me, but I was so happy when zombie guy barged in, used an axe and cut off Michael Trent's private part. I'm just like, yes! I don't know why I was so excited. It's so nice because now he has a male private area now because he didn't have that. And so now he fulfills Lisa's wish of not dying a virgin. So that happens. And then Lisa uses the tanning bed to sort of end her life. By the end of the movie, she's a zombie as well, I guess. And that was the story. I don't know what to say about this movie. You guys can let me know if you've seen this movie, how you felt about it. Am I just really weird? I just feel like my reaction to this movie is really weird. I don't know if I want to go into the deeper psychological meaning behind all of this or what this says about me as a person.